Good evening, gladiators. We who are about to play salute you with tea this time. Well, it's late at night. I'm in my dressing gown. Perfect time to play an old school role-playing game. Now tonight we're playing a game from the a long time ago. This is from 1991 or 1992, and it's a Dungeons and Dragons game called the Dark Queen of Krynn. And now, if that sounds familiar to you, because Krynn was actually a world based in the universe of Dragonlance, which was a series of very popular fantasy books back in the day. And this game is the last in the series of those games that based on the books. I played a lot of these games back in the day. If you were a kid in the late 80s or early 90s, these were the only options to you because they were made by a company called SSI, who actually licensed out the Dungeons and Dragons games from TSR, who made Dungeons and Dragons at the time. And these guys were the only guys who had the rights to make D&D games. And looking back, they are pretty terrible. They have some good moments, but it's interesting to see they're taking them. And when they lost the license to it, there were no D&D games for quite some time. So tonight we're going to play Dark Queen of Krynn, which is the last one in the series of three of these gold box games. And I've already made a party for us because that's kind of a tedious process. But I haven't played the game in, since the 90s, and I'm going to be a bit rusty, so bear with me. Let's get into it. All right. You arrive in Palanthas as the city awakens and merchants and townsfolk begin to crowd the streets. Although nothing seems outwardly wrong, you sense a great tension amongst the citizens. All right, so you look at this. We have our party of adventurers. We've got Bargle, who's a wizard, Grug, who's a dwarf, Redkin, a cleric, Belgrave, the knight, Silvara, the elf, elven, not sure what she is, and Wolfgang, who's a thief. I think she's a ranger. Now, classic D&D had armor class and hit points. Back in the old days, this is the second edition of Dungeons & Dragons, so hit points went into negative numbers. There was all sorts of weird things like negative armor class and THACO and all sorts of numbers that basically would scare off people from playing these kind of games. These days, if you ever get a chance to play a D&D game, like a real one, I highly recommend it because in person they're a lot of fun. If you can get a good dungeon master who will run you through a campaign, they're just a whole lot of excitement and adventure, and you have a couple of beers, roll some dice, everyone seems to have a few laughs. I actually played a campaign over the last, about a year ago. It just wrapped up and it lasted about a year, and Redkin was named my character, and he was a grumpy old cleric, and we had a ton of fun, and I really I recommend it. So big shout out to my dungeon master Tom Gattenhoff for running that awesome campaign. We had good times. So here we are in the city of Palanthas. So there's a lot of exposition in these games, a lot of text, and these cool little bits of pixel art in the background there. The general requests your presence at the palace at your convenience. So where do you want to go? You can go to some shops. Let's go to the bar. Why not? A quiet bar with a flamboyant barkeep with a lovely earring. Should we have a drink? You order a local drink. Anything? No, I guess we're getting drunk. Talk. Gildoc tells me. So you hear some rumors about dragons. Now, dragons are a key part of Forgotten Realms and the Dragonlance campaign. Actually, I should tell you more a bit about Dragonlance. There were a series of books made in the late 80s, started in the late 80s by a guy called Tracy Hickman and a lady called Margaret Weiss, who co-wrote the Dragonlance Chronicles. And these first books were very similar to the Lord of the Rings, and you had a bunch of companions, basically, who had to stop a great evil, in this time in the form of dragons, and they had to overcome many trials and tribulations, and some of the party members turned evil, some of them were killed along the way. But as a 10-year-old, this was amazing to me because I read The Hobbit first, but then I read this before I read Lord of the Rings, and so epic fantasy was something that really grabbed me, and I loved it. So the bar has got nothing for us, but so the Dragonlance campaign is very much high fantasy, all about knights, dragons, and wizards, basically. Shop. Let me show you my wares. She's got a lot of bling. So let's see if we can buy something for Belgrave, who is our knight. So we've got 200 gold to spend. Oh, he's got 200. Everyone has their own individual bits of money, and they can pool their money together. So plate mail is very expensive, but we do want that, so we're going to grab some. And we'll also grab a 200 sword. Cool. All right, he's good. Now let's view Belgrave. Use items. So much of this game was done through menus, and you could see what's... Oh, I already had weapons. I didn't really need to buy other stuff. Okay, that's annoying. Okay, anyway, let's not worry about it. So we're already armored up. Let's get on with things. The hall. Okay, we've already been there. Let's begin adventuring. Continue on our way. And for some reason, I thought there was music in this game, but maybe my sound card isn't working. I'm using a program called DOSBox, which is plays old games, old PC games. So if you ever want to try out some of these games, you can. There's actually some websites as well that allow you to play these games in a browser, which is kind of awesome. Anyway, I'm looking at two screens here. If you can see my eyes there and eyes there, I'll actually try playing it on the main screen so you can I can look up at the camera a bit easier. All right, let's go to the temple. Welcome to the Temple of Paladine. All right, nothing we want to do there. Let's actually just get on with the game. Palace. So this is General Lorana. Now, interestingly enough, they actually used the portrait from one of the books here, and they've just scanned it in because that's actually from one of the Dragonlance companions. She was one of the heroes, and they've used that in this game. So the art is a bit of a mixed bag. Some of it's great, some of it obviously not. But you know, this is the era when they really were kind of limited budgets and so on. This was the last of the gold box games, and I believe it only sold about 40,000 copies. And after this, that was the end of things for them. TSR decided these guys don't need the license anymore. A lot of reading as well, so you have to be invested in the story. And because they had a limited amount of space, they would tell you that part of the story is recorded in a journal entry, and so you actually had to take out your manual and read parts of the manual to follow along with the story, which actually meant if you wanted to, you could spoil the story and read ahead, you know. But you have to bear in mind that these games are only on a couple of discs, so they really, they had to use the space where they could. All right, mission is urgent. I didn't really read it. Let's get out of here. Leave. You head south. Sorry about that beeping. It's a bit annoying, isn't it? So we approach Caergoth. The air is thick with the stench of smoldering ruins as tendrils of smoke rise above the forest. You dismount and approach the city cautiously. So this game used a very primitive 3D where you looked left and right. It was done a lot better in Eye of the Beholder, and it was done before this in a game called Bard's Tale. And even, I believe, some of the earlier games like the Ultimates actually had dungeons like this. Ultima 1, 2, and 3. So let's walk around. I personally hate this kind of map. I find it really confusing, very repetitive, and very hard to see where you're going because there are only little visual cues, and you kind of get lost very easily. And this was always my least favorite part of the game. We've reached the door anyway. So what does area do? Does that show us? That shows us the map. Now I'd almost rather play in that mode, but let's keep going through. You come across what was once Caergoth and record your observations. Let's keep going. Huge shadows skim over the ground. Giant shapes disappear over the treetop. I should be doing some kind of fantasy voice for this, like my other videos, shouldn't I? What do you reckon? All right, so now we're outside the town. Oh, dragons descend upon you. Well, well, you must be the owner of that lovely ship. We could have used that a few nights ago. Alas, it is useless to us now, and so are you. they attack. Dragons in Dragonlance are highly intelligent, and each dragon has a different color. And the good dragons are gold and silver and bronze, and the evil dragons were blue and red and I think green. And they all had different personalities. And in the books, they're quite well explained and differentiated. We're fighting a blue dragon now, and this is going to be tough. We've got a bit of MIDI music in the background. That's cool. Always adds to the fun. So what you see here are our party of adventurers. So we're starting with Silvara. I believe she can move. You move with the arrow keys. If we go straight up to the dragon, we can attack him. We missed. Redkin the cleric. Everyone has their own special abilities. Like a cleric can, in Classic Dungeons and Dragons, cleric have a lot of healing spells. Mages have fireballs and so on. But we're just going to attack him. Oh, we missed. Belgrave's our best fighter, and he also, I don't think he's got one, but they can get a special weapon called a Dragonlance. Oh, poor Belgrave. He's going to have to go the long way. This is going to be annoying. So, because he doesn't have enough movement. Can we undo that? Yeah, let's try and go this. Let's delay his turn. Get these other guys out of the way. Oh, Bargle hit by lightning. Oh, that's tough. I think I kind of stuffed up here because you are supposed to memorize spells in Dungeons and Dragons before you get into battle. Wolfgang's a thief and he can backstab, so let's see if we can sneak behind and do a backstab. Oh, I missed. No one's having much luck. Grog the dwarf, you have the battle axe. He's pretty strong. Let's see if we can. We'll move him out of the way. Oh, when you move away, you take damage. Now, I always love the combat in this game. It might not look like much now, but it was fantastic tactical combat, and each where you stood meant something. You had all these different abilities and different monsters. Oh. They just wiped us all out. Oh dear. So 3 of our heroes are down. This is going to be a quick battle. We haven't even hit them. Okay, we got a nice hit on them. So far our heroes have been quite underwhelming. But we hit them twice. Wolfgang's still alive as well. Green Dragon breathed poison. Wolfgang is killed. This is brutal. This is the first battle of our game. Now she's been poisoned. Chokes and gags from nausea. Many of the spells in this game, or all of them, are from Dungeons and Dragons. So if you're familiar with that, you'll know things like Stinking Cloud and Fireball and so on. I think not having memorized spells is really causes grief. Oh, but we killed the dragon. So Grag's got some skill. Oh, so it's down to Grog and Wolfgang. So it's down to Wolfgang. Actually, no, did he die as well? The Dark Queen sneers with pleasure at your meaningless demise. Nothing can stop her now. Nothing. Oh well, that was miserable showing. Did we even save the game? Load from where? Load game A. That might have been our save game. Okay, this is a different save game that was already on the version before I was playing. So let's just see where that is. Keep going. They're obviously more powerful than we are. We got to do this lovely journal stuff. This is always fun. This is a copy protection. So back in the day, these games required you to read a manual and pick out a word from the manual. This is a little bit painful, but bear with me. Okay, word 8, combat strategies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Deploys. So we go back here. You probably hear a bit of awful beeping. Whoa. I don't know why that is, but I don't love it. Anyway, that worked. So we're in Palanthas, but we have much better characters. So let's skip all this. This is the beginning again. So maybe this is a pre-made party of people if they just wanted to get stuck into the game straight away, which is quite nice. So we'll talk to the general. there were many of these games, and I really loved them back in the day. As is such a common theme with these videos that I'm making, a lot of them don't hold up. Some of them do. Some of them are great, but then, some of them are just kind of garbage. I wouldn't say garbage, or they're of their time. You know what I mean? And judging them by modern standards isn't always the fairest thing to do. So let's leave and see if we can take those dragons on again. All right, let's go forward. There were entire games that were built around this 3D thing, and some people loved them. And you even see games today like I can't remember what it's called. It's Grimrock or something like that. Legend of Grimrock. That's entirely turn based, like you move at 90-degree angles. Personally, yeah, not a fan of them, but I can see people that are. The early where am I going? Okay, there we go. You can see they're just so confusing. Alright, so we keep going. We might be able to avoid those dragons. Every time I say something evil happens. Alright. Okay, so... Oh no, we've avoided them. So we might be able to get to the harbour if we can... No, this is the dragon battle. The music was always quite sparing in these games, but always well composed. Quite memorable themes. The one in Champions of Krynn was the best. I loved it. I can still remember it in my head, but I won't sing it for you now. Or maybe I will as we fight. Now I won't sing it. That's awful. All right, Joris the Wise is pretty tough. Let's see how he goes. Yeah, he can put the hurt on. Let's hope that these guys manage to memorize their spells, because once again I forgot. Well, we'll never find out about her. Blue dragons. They are nasty. So this is a Kender. They're like little thieves. And in the books, there was a Kender called Tasselhoff. And he was such an annoying character that when I reread the books, I actually had to put them down in the second trilogy. Because this guy, he has no fear. And he just makes light of every situation. And it kind of takes the tension out. And I guess some people love that, but for me it was just infuriating, because you'd have the scene where like dragons are descending on a castle and everyone's dying, and then he's making jokes. Now that's very Jar Jar Binks in my opinion, and I'm not a fan of comic relief when not done well, when done cheaply, and this was cheap laughs and rant. Right, so we got a wizard here. He's got some spells memorized. Lots of spells, so let's see if we can get something powerful. Dragons can be a bit magic resistant. Is he a cleric? Or is he just not memorized? Oh, he got fireball, there we go. So he begins casting. Now you have to target your spells. Let's get right in the middle. Sometimes it hit your characters if you actually didn't time them well. Let's center around there. Boom! Green dragon, blue. Oh, they all took some serious damage, but then so did our guys. So, collateral damage. What are you going to do? Oh, this guy's got a Dragonlance, so he can take him down in one hit. Watch this. Yeah, he's the guy we want. Yeah, this guy, Sir Dryden, beast. So you can see what a well-armed party can do compared to my ragtag bunch of clowns that I spent a few minutes preparing. Continue battle? No. After battle, you often get some experience and treasure, but we didn't find any treasure there. Alaric the Bold has leveled up, but we're not going to bother with that. We're going to... A sobbing woman and a small child are attempting to dig the graves for their family. What do you do? It's a sad story. So you get these cool little choose your own adventure style bits in the games, and in my Sword and Sandals games, I took a lot of inspiration from games like this, where there's little scenarios that can go well or badly for you, and I think that they're easy to put in games, but they add a lot of fun. Should we aid them or warn them, because there might be more dragons? Let's warn them. So get out of here. You're gonna get blasted. The dragons and their kin have destroyed our home and cruelly murdered our family. Too bad. What more harm can they do? What? Oh, look, they're just whinging. Well, we'll leave them to their fate. Okay, let's back to the forest. You slowly get your bearing for where you're supposed to go. That's the harbour. What was that? A vulture sits on a wall watching you. Well, that's nice. He doesn't want to fight us, but... Oh, suddenly a group of swarthy soldiers brandish their swords. Looters, what do you want here? Answer carefully. What do you do? Explain or attack? Let's see if we can explain our presence here at the harbour. One of the sailors steps forward. I'm Daynor, captain of the merchant vessel Silver Shark. He looks like a pirate, doesn't he? We arrived here late last night to find our city burned and ravaged. The few that remain have told us a terrible tale. This is a terrible tale with a terrible rendition by me. Yeah, so we don't really know what that tale is because it's in a journal. Okay, so you want to go with them? Yeah, set sail. Adventure begins. So we're off to sea now. It's quite a big game, and you end up going all the way through to defeating a god, the evil Dark Queen Tarkassus, who is a terrifying, beautiful woman one moment and a 5-headed dragon the next. Okay, so want to go ashore? Yeah. What's here? Oh, we're in a cave. Let's have one more battle, then we'll call it. Something smells rotten. I think it's draconian. Draconians were like these half man, half dragon type things. They were quite cool. The best thing about them was when you stick your weapon in them, when you kill them, they would either turn to stone, or they would turn to acid, or they would explode on you. And so it was quite interesting tactically. We might find some here. Oh. Oh, what are we fighting here? Something scary. Let's see if we can get a fireball going to... So he begins casting. Ken does have this ability to yell taunt, so... Oh yeah, so Draconians. So these guys are all now mad at him because he said something annoying. Like some Jar Jar like quote. So they all want to kill him. Let's move Joris the Wise forward and launch into one of them. So we now have a fireball. Let's target this. So it's all keyboard based, a little bit clunky. I think you could use the mouse. This is the first of these games that actually had 256 color graphics. The early ones only had 16 color graphics. So if you think these graphics are bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. Let's target that guy. Yeah, taking down a few of them. A couple of them are magic resistant. Oh, Aurak Draconians are quite dangerous. So you can see how he exploded and killed these other troops, which is kind of cool. A lot of people complain about the sound effects in this game. They're quite limited. So we can control Captain Daynor as well, who's a non-playable character normally, but let's send him to battle. Combat's quite easy when you think about it. You're moving the arrow keys, you've got some special moves. I love party-based combat. Any game where you can control a group. There's not that many examples of it done like in a tactical game. XCOM is awesome. It's probably the best example of turn-based tactical combat I can think of in recent times, and I love it. And there's not enough games like it. I'd love to make a sword and sandals tactical combat game like this one day where you have a party. So Dryden, can you move forward? Let's just guard. We'll get to the end of this battle and then I want to show you something special. So Alaric the Bold, no, move. No. Attacking. Attack ally. You could. Why would you want to attack your ally? Why even opt for that? I guess it's Dungeons and Dragons. You can do anything, right? I remember seeing this, and I remember seeing Eye of the Beholder come out, and Eye of the Beholder's graphics are so much better. But the gameplay in this, I honestly think was more fun. Many people disagree. If you have disagreement with that, send me a comment. If you're still watching, of course. This isn't the most fun of the Let's Play games I've ever done, that's for sure. I remember this game being more fun than it actually is in hindsight. But hey, if you like this kind of turn-based tactical combat, check it out. You can find it on abandonware sites everywhere. It's kind of amazing, these games that back in the day I'd paid all this money for, and now they're just free on websites. Anyway, look, this combat seems like it's dragging on a bit. I think we've probably seen enough, but I wanted to show you something. Now, back in the day, the very last thing that SSI made, or one of the last things, was it's called Forgotten Realms Unlimited Adventures, I believe. And it was a creator for these kind of games. So it was an actual make your own gold box adventure game. Now, all these things are quite commonplace now with mods and the ability to basically make your own versions of everything from Diablo to Half-Life to anything you want. But back then, that was quite something special, to be able to use a game engine and make your own adventures using it. And a buddy of mine, Greg Wee, who is the inspiration for Sir Belgrave and the co-creator of Swords and Sandals, The World, we started making one, and I want to show you a couple of graphics from it. So check this out. So what you see here, if I load that up, was a game that we had planned, and I believe he might have, if not finished, got quite close to the end of making, and it was called Against He Chaos. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because it's the same He Chaos, the evil villain from all the Sword and Sandals games, has been kicking around in our heads since we were, 12 years old. And that's a drawing that I did of him, scanned it in, and then did some gradient work. And now you can see here some of the templates that the game came with for you to create your own characters. And so that's a little legionnaire that I drew, and you draw them far away and up close. That's a legionnaire wearing He Chaos outfit, or it might even be He Chaos himself. It kind of looks like it with a long nose. That's, of course, the Sir Belgrave, which was a photo that we'd scanned in. And this is going to show you how old I was. Using a hand scanner, so you'd move this thing along some paper. Little scanner look like this, slowly, and you scan an image. And if you did it too fast, the image would look too small. This is before flatbed scanners were cheap, and who even uses those now? But that's how we scanned our own faces into the game, and we did that. And I scanned a picture of some armor, and I combined them. Crazy what you had to do to get graphics in the games, and that looks kind of rubbish, but. Again, I scanned all these pictures in and colorized them, and I think I drew that skull and some keys items in the game. You might notice these two basketballs. What are they doing there? That's Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal. So this was 1992, I believe, and Shaq was a rookie. This is for people that like basketball. Shaquille O'Neal, big NBA player. And he was tearing up the league, and he came out to Australia one day, and just for promotional purposes, and we went and saw him, and I was so amazed by his size that I thought, this guy is like a giant or an ogre or something. So I put him in the game, and I put Michael Jordan in the game as well. Why not? I'm a basketball fan. And so there you go. So this game, I've only got a couple of bits of artwork for it. I don't think the game exists anymore. It was on Greg's hard disk, and I think that's long gone. But, it's just something quite nostalgic for me to look at, and something that I thought you might be interested in if you're a Sword and Sandals fan, or a fan of how you make these games, because these, back in the day, you use these pictures, you had to use those colors. It'd tell you, like, this is a portrait, this is what you do for the artwork, and you put them in, and then you have a game without even knowing how to program. So, pretty cool. And that's... the early days of programming was much harder for people than it is now, and so tools like this were very handy. So that was the Dark Queen of Krynn, the Dragonlance adventure game, the last of the gold box adventures, and certainly an acquired taste, I would say. It's not for everyone. If you like tactical combat and don't mind the 3D grid, there is a pretty cool story in there. The game had a lot of bugs, but I certainly had a lot of fun playing it back in the day. And you may never play it, but I hope you found this a bit interesting. This is going back through some role-playing game heritage. I'm going to play a lot more of these old role-playing games, as well as arcade games and retro games. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to play. I got tons more of these videos to make, and still some more Sword and Sandals ones to make as well. The next one, I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I'll do one in the next few days, so stay tuned for that. As always, if you're enjoying these videos, please send me a comment. I've been reading them and trying to reply to as many things as I can. And of course, like them, subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'm up to like 510 now or something, so that's awesome. I've still got the scar on my forehead. I have no idea what that's from. I went to sleep the other night and woke up with it, so I don't know. It's like that half a Harry Potter. Who knows? Yeah, go figure. All right, everybody. My tea is cold because I forgot to drink it, but it's a cool Pac-Man mug. Until next time, bye for now.